Hey guys, it's PJ Cruikshank in the house again. Yes, I've slept this time. I woke up about an hour ago, and I just come across a video, and I thought, I'm awake now, so I've not got a stream until 2 p.m. GMT, which is what? Now it's 6:16 at the minute in the morning. AM. So what? 8 hours, seven, quarter hours away. So I thought, why not? I seen this video come across, and it was called by a channel called Metaphysical, and the video is called "Did We All Die in 1999?" Oh no, sorry, did the world end in 1999? So I will put the link to the video that I'm reacting to in the description of the video. I will put it out as a premiere, but I seen the title, and I just thought, suck it. I've got to react to it. But yes, I've had a little bit of sleep, so we'll react to it, and I will see you in the stream this afternoon. If I don't see you in the premiere when I put this out. So let's just get straight into it. Let's get it up, and we'll react to this video. Like I said, by a channel called Metaphysical, and it says it's called "Did the World End in 1999?" I don't know what angle it's got to be coming from. You know what I mean? Not at all. I haven't got a clue. I've never heard of the channel, so I don't know what angle. I just seen the title, played a minute of it, and I thought, okay, let's give it a go. Don't know if it's coming from a religious angle, a faith angle, a spiritual angle, or just, I don't know, simulation angle. Don't know what type of angle. I just thought, well, let's get it going, we'll react to it. So it's going to be as much a surprise to you as it is to me. But let's just get into it. Let's do it. There we go. Let's just do it.
60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, what images do you think of? Each had a very distinct style.
60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Well, you've got images up there. Yeah. 60s, I suppose I would think of swinging 60s music with the type of fashion, kind of the flowery kind of power, that type of stuff. I would have thought of my mum as a child because she was born in the 50s. She told me about the 60s. I was born in the later 70s, like 76. So yeah, I would have thought of like strange fashion, flowery, powdery type fashion. It was a promiscuous time when everybody just went. It was like after the 50s rebellion, it was like the 60s, like, oh, let's all just like make out. You know what I mean? Let's make love. And then the 70s was like, let's make love and chill out and be hippie-ish, you know? Stereotypical views, but there you go. Let's see how it goes on.
Of what the culture was like, with very specific fashion, TV shows, music, design, and everything else. But after 1999, that all stopped. You could look at it.
After 1999, it all stopped. I suppose, when it comes to pop culture, media, and all things like that, definitely from what I remember, like from what I've seen of the 50s, 60s, I was born in the 70s, but remember the 80s and 90s and not as more. But yeah, there was more of a zeitgeist of the times. Of the era, so a zeitgeist of the era back when I was a kid in the 80s. 80s were cheesy, but movie-wise, they were cheesy, but it was nice. The 80s, even though we had a hard time in the UK, like it was the Thatcher times and all that, and it was a hard time, a depression and all that kind of stuff. People out of work and all that. But as a kid, it was, how to explain it. It was the films were cheesy, but there was a certain zeitgeist, a feeling of that era, of that times, you know, a spirit of that times, I suppose, so to speak. I suppose so. There's like this distinctive kind of with each decade, like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Before 1999, I suppose they were distinct. 50s was distinct from the 60s, 60s distinct from the 70s, 70s distinct from the 80s, 80s distinct from the 90s, but they all had their particular feel. And I suppose it's right after 1999, that kind of disappeared, and it was like an amalgamation of everything. Sometimes retro, sometimes futuristic, sometimes like mishmash, you know? Sorry, I'll talk less.
TV show from 2005 or 2025, and how the people act and dress and design their spaces pretty much stayed the same. At least, that's the strange, thought-provoking theory people are starting to talk about. And I can tell you, I was there. The 80s and the 90s were so distinctly different from each other, and we could see looking back at how different each decade was.
Definitely distinctly different. I started school, secondary school in the late 80s. I started primary school in the early 80s. There was definitely a certain feel of the 80s. And I remember 1990, and it still reminded me in the 80s, obviously 1990, but once it progressed into the, I don't know, 93 onwards, there was definitely a certain different feel from the 90s as there was from the 80s. I mean, I suppose it's growing up as well, because in the 80s, I was a young child to just turned a teenager. And then in the 90s, I was a teenager until young adult, you know? So it could be to do with growing up as well, the feel of the times.
From the 50s through to the 90s. We were fully aware. That's why Back to the Future was such a fantastic movie. The nostalgia from the 50s was palpable.
So I just have to snap in there. Look, the Back to the Future was made in 1985, and it still holds up to this day. I mean, visually, you know what I mean? Even comedy-wise, a lot better than the films nowadays. And the look of it is fantastic. Even though they went in Back to the Future 2, they went to 2015, and 2015's passed, and we've had no flying cars, no flying DeLoreans. Come on, Doc Brown, get on with it. Flux capacitors at the ready. Come on.
But the questions I keep coming back to are, why have the decades since 2000 seemed relatively the same? Are we stuck in a time warp? Has culture ground to a halt?
That was my point there, yeah. So once it turned to like after 99, 2000, it does. It feels kind of the same. There's an amalgamation of everything zapped together. Kids' kind of language changes a bit, like colloquial changes a little bit. But yeah, it's been the same kind of feel from the millennium onwards, to be honest. I mean, yes, obviously little things change and all that. Some things stay the same, but the feel, the spirit of the times, the zeitgeist, that seems the same since after 2000. I mean, he could be completely right. I mean, and I don't think he's coming from a religious or spiritual point of view, but he could be right. I mean, I don't know what his angle is. I mean, if he's got a ghost simulation, that type of stuff, I'm not going to agree with it, but he's right about the feel of the times.
Purpose? I decided to collect all the evidence I could find of this bizarre Matrix-style time freeze and see if we can figure out what's
Matrix-style time freeze. So is he heading simulation? I don't know. I'm looking at the other screen to see as though you guys have got to be there because I'm used to live streaming, but it's a recording.
Actually going on. Is it just a pile of technological and social issues creating this, or is there evidence of other theories? Let's go through all of them. Join me, investigative researcher Rob Counts, for a metaphysical show that's out of this world.
Ooh. Rob Counts, then. So that's the name of the channel, Metaphysical, and that must be his name, obviously, Rob Counts. So, like I say, I'll put the link in the description, guys.
You believe it's the year 1999, when in fact it's closer to 2199.
I mean, there's a lot of people going back today that are saying that we've lost a lot of time from history. I do believe we've lost time from history. I believe we're further on than they say we are. But people are saying like 1,000 years. I don't think we're that much further on. Maybe a few years, maybe a few decades. But 1,000 years is a bit too much. But I could be wrong in that as well. I don't know. You know, but my conviction is we're not that. Yes, we've lost some time, but not 1,000 years. But that's just my conviction. I could be completely wrong.
I can't tell you exactly what year it is, because we honestly don't know.
I can't tell you what year it is either. And if you think about it, we're sort of existing.
You know what I mean? Not truly.
In the Matrix time warp concept now. And it gets even weirder if you start looking at people's appearances. Now, I know what you're going to say. How could things be the same in all the years since 2000? Look at all the massive advancements in computers and technology. I mean, sure, I get it. It's not that nothing has changed. We're talking about cultural...
I wouldn't agree with that. Yes, there might seem to be more advancement with computers and technology and all that. I believe that not so much. Maybe they just release it at certain dates. Maybe they've had this kind of technology for a while, but just release it in certain times. You know, I don't think it's brand new. They could probably play Xbox One back in 1936 when my dad was born.
Distinctions between our decades. But the craziest of all for me of this Matrix time warp was one example I saw on social media.
Matrix time warp. Okay. I can see where he's kind of heading. I could be wrong, but I can see where he's heading. Let's just carry on to you say it's interesting. I like this.
Watch The Office, which I do, and it's consistently ranked as one of the most popular shows of all time. All of what they're wearing and how they're...
I watched a few episodes of the British version with Ricky Gervais with oh, you're odd. It wasn't my type of comedy. A lot of people swear by it. It's just not my type of comedy. So I don't know much about The Office, and I do know Steve Carell did the American version and all that. He kind of played Ricky Gervais's part. But as for what it's all about and the lore of it, no idea.
Hair is styled and everything looks just like today. You could not guess the year any episode was filmed if you didn't already know, because it literally could be any year beginning with a T.
That's true. I would agree with them there.
Two.
The only way maybe you'd be able to guess the different times is through the different styles of film, like digital to film, all that type of stuff, the way they film it. But as for like the characters, clothes, all that kind of stuff, the feel of the times, pretty much the same.
They're the same picture.
The Office actually ran from 2005 to 2013, so it should be decades out of date. But teenagers today have a more extreme version of Jim's hair in season 1. They have a fluffy mop or semi-perm of broccoli hair now, or some in Gen Z have a partial comeback of 90s hair.
And that's true. Yeah, I mean, the curtains are definitely back. I mean, I had curtains in the 90s. I had quite long hair in the 90s, but came from curtains. I had mullet in the 80s, then curtains in the 90s, and long hair and curtains. And yeah, it took me ages to get rid of the curtains, and I'd hate to have curtains again. But you see it again. But this broccoli haircut is a big thing, definitely. I mean, I suppose I could grow it. I've got noodle nap bar, but you know, I wouldn't want it.
Where did the distinct decade style...
You've got Logan Paul with his broccoli cut comb forward to hide his baldness. If you're going bald, show it. You don't have to hide it with a broccoli cut. You're a man. Some men go bald. Just grow older with grace, you know.
Go. Fashion seems to be stuck in this limbo land without anything truly new coming onto the scene, and all kinds of duplicates or copies of the past are coming forward.
That's true.
Just think about all these...
Everything seems a clone of a clone of a clone of a clone nowadays. And it's funny because we talk about clones when it comes to human clones, since they cloned the sheep and all that, we go on about that. But clothes, style, that type of, it's a clone, it's a copy, and an elaboration of the copy and all that. But it seems to be stuck. We do get retro, you know, going back to the 60s, going back to the 80s, but it's still never the exact same feel. You know, there was definitely a distinct feel in them decades. Now, I think, in fact, since the millennium, it is kind of the same. I'm going to call this video, I think I'm going to call it Party Like It's 1999. Prince song, but, you know, Party Like it. 2000 parties over at a time. So tonight I'm gonna party like it's 1999. Love it. Why not?
Decade styles. They were so distinct. Greasy Elvis and James Dean hair came from men in the 50s, and Marilyn Monroe and Audrey Hepburn styles for women. Think of Happy Days outfits. The 60s had hippies and bright colors. 70s got long hair, colorful plaids, patchwork, and polyester. I mean, who wouldn't want to wear avocado, puke green, and burnt orange?
I mean, them ponchos look like what do you call it? the tea cozies that my granny had for their teapot, also doilies for the table, and throws for the sofa, or a blanket just to top the bed. That my granny had that kind of patterns and stuff. But these I didn't know you got them in ponchos.
Knitted ponchos every day alongside a Partridge Family haircut. I mean, I sure do. The 80s brought us Jane Fonda sportswear, shoulder pads, big hair, punk, and fluorescent colors. The 90s was...
Like, now that's got a big influence on me, is the 80s. I remember it. It's with fondness, even though it was a bad time. I mean, my mum left us in the 80s and stuff like that. But I remember in the late 80s, but I remember the 80s with fondness because the movies, I was a kid in the 90s as well. I mean, he just brought straight up Nirvana. Now, when I think of the 90s, Nirvana will be the first thing I think of. Cranberries, Nirvana, that type of thing. But Kurt Cobain was kind of my hero back then when it came to music. So I went from like the Guns N' Roses and stuff like that to Nirvana in the 90s. And when I think of the 90s, the first thing I'll think about is 1994 when Kurt Cobain died, sort of thing. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I say, a certain zeitgeist.
Baggy, grunge, flannel, casual jeans and t-shirts, mini skirts, hoodies, and khakis with hair and center parts and curtains. That was wild. And that's where we ended the 20th century, right? But this is also where things got strange. The 2000s never really found itself. It was just a mashup of every style from past decades. Both wide and skinny jeans, sportswear, tight clothes, baggy clothes, hair of every length. I mean, just go into the mall today and you won't find one decade's fashion, you'll see them all. And we've been post-1999 for 25 years. But it's not just fashion, of course. That's just the most obvious because we look at people all the time. Have you noticed that Hollywood doesn't seem to be able to produce a unique script anymore?
That's true. All the movies are the same. I mean, yes, the Marvel the MCU and all that, where they had good stuff with Infinity War and Endgame, but since then everything has been rubbish. Every movie is a copy of something else, or it's got an agenda like wokeism, feminism, stuff like that. Movies are completely. Some of them are all right, but compared to like 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and maybe early 2000s, movies are completely different. They're not good, really. Yes, we'll enjoy some of them just because I suppose we have to, but compared to what movies used to be like, it's the feel is bland. The feel of it is more bland now. It's another movie like that. And it's a lot of nostalgia. They're trying to bring back 80s and stuff like that or the early 2000s, whatever era, by being nostalgic and bringing older characters into newer things, into newer movies, and play on this nostalgia trip by trying to be retro and bringing it back, but it's still got the same feel. It's the same thing. Everybody's doing it on the nostalgia trip because there's nothing else. They're trying to bring back stuff from a time that was better, to try and make it just as good now. But I don't even know if that's what they're trying to do, to try and make it just as good. It's all about money. It always was. But I mean, when it comes to movie media and pop culture, it's completely bland nowadays.
Anymore? At least not for our movies. All our movies seem to be remakes of the past creative stuff that came out of the last century, and specifically the late 70s through the 80s and 90s. Take a look at this list of remakes I curated from a much larger list on IMDb. Total Recall, RoboCop, Point Break.
There you go. They're not just they're just trying to be nostalgic and bring old characters into new movies. They're just straight out copying remakes of the old movies, Roadhouse, things like that. Yeah, the kids got their blooming hell, what was it called again? Footloose. They did that again. That's both Footlooses there. The new Footloose is terrible compared to the old one. There's loads of them. Even things like Flatliners we watched on movie night the other week. They brought a new version of that out. Like I say, Roadhouse. Oh, there's tons. There's tons. It's got to mention some, obviously.
Footloose, The Karate Kid.
Karate Kid, yeah, but the Karate Kid, and then they brought it out with Jaden Smith, and it wasn't even karate. He was learning. It was kung fu. So not the same character. And now, after Cobra Kai, you've got Daniel LaRusso in Cobra Kai. He's now doing a movie with Jackie Chan, mixing the both Karate Kid eras up, the two different versions of Karate Kid up. So the kung fu and the karate. So it's now Daniel LaRusso with Jackie Chan, who Jaden Smith was with. It's crazy. I don't know how they're going to pull that off and get the two laws together when one film was a copy of the other. Ish.
War of the Worlds, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Hairspray, Charlie and
Loads.
the Chocolate Factory, Cinderella.
And Charlie and the Chocolate Factory has been repeated more than once as well. I mean, after Johnny Depp did it, then you've got the Aaron, well, I can't remember his name. He was Quicksilver in the MCU. Craven the Hunter from the MCU. Aaron Johnson, maybe. No, Aaron Johnson. Wow, I'm not sure. Aaron something anyway. Yeah, so they've done that again.
King Kong, Clash of the Titans, Carrie, Planet of the Apes, and I hardly brought
Carrie was done a few times as well. The Carrie 2, put on a Carrie 2, Carrie the Revenge or the Return or something like that. Even Nightmare on Elm Street, after they went up to Nightmare on Elm Street 6, they remade it with Robert Englund and then remade it again with a different actor. The one that was, I don't know his name, the one that was Rorschach in The Watchers.
up any of the horror movies they've remade. That list is huge.
Loads.
Have people
So
gotten
many.
lazy, or could something else be going on? In ancient Greek culture, they talked about muses. It was the muses who imparted to people their inspiration for creativity. All creativity came from them. When people had a creative block, they used to say that they'd lost touch with their muses, or that the muses had stopped taking care of them.
Serendipity, inspiration, muses. I mean, the muses they're talking about is mythical. Going on, muses like they're angels that inspire. Yes, there is such as angels, but personal muses that inspire you. No, people can be an inspiration. Things can be an inspiration, but something that whispers in your ear, giving you inspiration. No, that's God-given. That's God-given.
Muses were held in extremely high esteem. What, did the muses stop taking care of people after 1999? Could we somehow be unable to create original stories anymore? And if so, why? Speaking of movies, I was watching The Matrix recently, and something jumped out at me that I hadn't ever thought about before. Why did the AI program controlling The Matrix claim that 1999 was the peak of human civilization?
That is a weird one, yeah. Why did it claim 1999 when it was meant to be like a few hundred years later or something? Or 100 years later? It's because I suppose a lot of people thought the world was going to end in 1999, to the year 2000, you know? All crap prophecies, stuff like that. Stuff that they took out of the Bible, which never says a year in the Bible. Obviously, it says you don't know when, don't know time nor the hour. So, I mean, the idea has been about for a while because then 2012 because of the Mayan calendar or something. But yeah, it was meant to be the millennium bug issue, you know, like all the cash ATMs and all that, all the computers would turn off because they would only go up to 1999 and then switch back to zero or something like that. And that never happened. It was all just big scare tactics.
The Matrix was redesigned to this, the peak of your civilization.
In the movie, 1999 was the point when humans had just enough material benefits to strive for, and just enough misery to keep them occupied that they didn't question their reality. Well, when I looked at our own reality, I realized that he was kind of right. Now, no matter what examples we find, people are just going to try to explain
The red pill or the blue pill? I'd go for the red, but don't take them both.
this away, but honestly, there's just no fun in that. If we are stuck in this weird time loop, what could have caused it? Let's go into some theories.
I don't know if he's serious about that, but I don't. There's no such time as that as a concept. It's a man-made concept. Yes, we live in the now. We go through a duration, a period, but time itself, I mean, duration is segmented off into little units. That's done by man. That's time. You know, there's no such thing as time. It's a concept. You know, so as for being stuck in a time loop, no, there's no past, there's no future. Yes, there's memories, and we can look forward to what's coming, but there's no past, no future. There's always just the now. Always just the now. Present. No,
Nostradamus predicted that in the 7th month of
I was about to
1999,
say Nostradamus as well when I was saying about the year 2000. I mean, because I think it was Nostradamus that was the big advocate for that, the big representative of the world ending in 2000 or 1999. And you know something, vaguely he got a few things true, but if you actually look at his writings, they're word salad-ish, they're metaphorical. You can make a few meanings out of them. You know? Oh, I see FA Nations live.
a great king of terror would descend on the world. Nostradamus said a lot of things, and I'm not really sure I buy
Big up FA Nation, by the way. Big up FA Nation. There's ace stuff. There's ace stuff.
the world ending is what he meant by that. But what is weird is that in late June of 1999, the comet Hale-Bopp was in the sky.
I remember Halley's Comet. I was in primary 3 at the time. Mid 80s-ish. Hold on, primary 3. So, 1, 2, about 83, 84 maybe. But I remember Halley's Comet. Then I heard it. I won't see it again for 70 odd years, so probably will never see it again. But yes, even they're not the things that we're told they are. NASA's fake, guys. I mean, space is fake. NASA lies. That's what I mean.
Theory suggests that the comet really hit the Earth back then. But if that were the case, why are we all still here? It would have been devastating to the point of destroying all of civilization.
If these things were done and we're dusted, are we a simulation? Are we Super Mario and Sonic? You know? Are we Max Payne? Or somebody jumping about in Fortnite?
It's said that when you die, your brain lives on for 7 minutes, replaying your memories or living out new ones in a dreamlike state. And in dreams, as you know, time moves differently from when we're awake.
How would you know that, really? Once you die, how do they know? Yes, you might be able to see there might have been some kind of electrical activity after you die, whatever. After your heart stops beating. But are you dead after your heart stops beating? Are you dead when there's no electricity at all going through your body? When there's no electrical activity? You know? When are you dead? When your heart stops or when there's no electrical activity going through your brain? I don't know. But even whatever. How do they know that you replay your memories for 7 minutes of this electrical activity? Replay your memories and stuff like that. Visions, all that kind of stuff. How do they know that? And NDEs, near-death experiences, doesn't explain it because they're talking about people who have died. And people who have had NDEs come back to life, so they haven't stayed dead, so they don't know. They can't correlate to. They can't compare the two. It's different things. So you can't tell because the person's dead.
Many people who have had near-death experiences have explained.
I really haven't seen this. And I just say something and it keeps on the bloody video.
What it's like to have their life flash before their eyes. So what if we're living in the interdimensional spaces of our brains after we've already died? 7 minutes could feel like an eternity. According to The Matrix, the world ended in 1999. AI took us over and the sky was scorched. Believe it or not, some people really believe that we're living in an...
We do not know who attacked first, them or us, but we do know it was us that scorched the skies.
artificial projection, and that AI really...
Matrix quote.
did take us over, which, looking at the fashion industry right now, that could be true. The holographic universe theory...
I know dudes are wearing skirts. Even dudes that don't want to be women are wearing skirts and dresses and high heels and nail varnish and makeup. And I mean, that's okay. Fine if you want to paint your nails a little bit. So what? But, makeup all over the place, changing your features with makeup to look girly, but you don't want to be a girl, wearing skirts, acting female, but you don't. It's all a mixed up world. It's all a mixed up world. Sorry, guys.
States that our three-dimensional universe is a two-dimensional projection on a cosmic scale. Basically, we're living in a massive cosmic hologram, and everything we perceive as being 3D is really just an illusion. What's weird is that there might be some truth to this. Now, every planet gives off a frequency, a vibration, and a sound. We know there are connections between objects in the cosmos, and that it gives our reality stability, like the push and pull.
Well, on this part, I will have to totally disagree with him. Totally disagree with him. Heliocentrism is a deception from the devil. The earth is level.
Between particles. That's not weird, but
I'll listen to him.
what if those elements of our solar system actually operate like transmission towers that keep our reality
Again, no such thing as a solar system.
the way it is, like projection points in a matrix? If we're talking about being stuck in a matrix time warp, we can go even further. Some believe Saturn is giving off these frequencies that are being transmitted to objects like the moon and the Earth, and that creates some type of projection. Well, in mythology,
Prove that.
Saturn is the god of time and another name for Kronos, so maybe time really is different now.
So Kronos, you're saying there's a god of time. No such thing as time. It's a man-made concept, so how can there be a god of time?
Scientist Steve
Did the world end in 1999? Now did it end in 2012? Well, how can it end in 1999 and 2012? Come on. I know. We ended in 1999, became a simulation, died in that simulation in 2012, and ended up in a deeper simulation. Got it. Brainstorm.
Stephen Hawking once warned that when we find the God particle, it could one day be responsible for
No such thing as a God particle. God is God. If there's such thing as particles, he invented them. There's no such thing as a God particle as such. That's just something you try to shoot around the bloody Hadron Collider.
the destruction of the entire universe, and Hawking was not the only scientist who thought so. Their theory was that the Higgs boson is the precise mass needed to keep the universe on the brink of instability.
Higgs boson.
But its delicate state will eventually collapse, leaving the universe unstable. In fact, if this God particle were real, it could...
Sorry, guys, completely disagree. Completely disagree. Look in Genesis. God created all this in 7 days. 6 days and then rested. He created a level plane. He separated waters from waters with a firmament, rakia, a beaten out surface, like a beaten out surface, expanse, hard, solid surface.
usher in a quantum doomsday. On July 4th,
This is just indoctrination. I mean, I know this is not what his main thing is, you know. But I'm just saying for people watching, space is fake, guys. Universe as they present it is fake. It says you're not important. It says you're on the edge of a galaxy, a little speck of dust on the edge of a galaxy, and that galaxy is a speck of dust on the edge of some kind of cluster of galaxies in the universe, and a multiverse as well could be now. Wow. Crazy stuff there. Yes, we all like science fiction, but thing is nowadays, I love science fiction, but we know where science fiction stops and reality starts.
2012, the God particle, also known as the Higgs boson, was found. What if the discovery of this particle indeed destroyed the universe as we know it, or at the very least changed it? Did you know that the most advanced
particle destroyed the universe? No, only God can destroy the universe. Universe, one word.
calendar of the ancient world was the Maya calendar? This calendar only recorded up until December 21st, 2012, the same year the God particle was found. What if? Well, it doesn't seem like the world ended in 2012, or did it?
2012, it was then. Wow, can't believe that's so long ago already. 13 years ago. The Higgs boson and all that. Wow, it's that long already.
Because something strange is definitely going on. In 2013, Nelson Mandela died, but a bizarrely huge number of people remember him dying years earlier in the 90s.
Now this I will agree with. His reasoning for the Mandela effect, I will probably have to disagree with. I don't know what he's going to say, but I could guess. We'll see what he's going to say, but there's definitely such thing. Mandela effect is not a good name for it, but yes, the supernatural changes has been in the Bible. Doesn't mean to say the Bible is not real, guys. It mainly happens in the King James, and there's still a lot of meat in the Bible. It doesn't change the meaning of the Bible whatsoever. But there's certainly been changes. And it's happened in pop culture and media, without a doubt. And I think it comes from the devil. A lot of people think it comes from God. A lot of people think it's evidence of two different parts of the multiverse, two different universes colliding together. Part of the multiverse is colliding together, that kind of thing. Or time travel, or stuff like that. Science fiction stuff. No, I think it's a supernatural thing.
I'm one of those people. On December 5th, 2013, I was designing the front page
I do think God's allowing it, though, to happen, obviously.
Of a newspaper in New York City where I used to work. As I laid it out, I remembered leaning over to an editor and saying, "Didn't this guy die already?" Now, if it were just one event, you could easily write it off as...
It affects a lot of people, even him. And he's not the same as us, as a truther, like flat earther type truther and all that. I mean, he's certainly looking for stuff, you can tell by his video. But yeah, it affected him. It's affected a lot of people. People are Mandela affected, whether they believe it or not.
People not remembering what happened. But this was the first of so
Deja
many
vu.
glitches in the Matrix. I'll list a few here.
Oh, deja vu.
In the movie Snow White, the evil stepmother gazes into the mirror. Remember what she says? Mirror, mirror on the wall, right? Nope.
So crazy. So crazy. Now it's magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all? Never ever said that.
Now it's Magic Mirror on the wall. Literally, no one remembers Magic Mirror.
Nope.
Then Sinbad was never in a movie that everyone, including me, remembers coming out in the 90s called Shazam. Shaq was...
Now, this one rang a bell for me, but it wasn't big for me. It wasn't big. Because he's not the type of actor I watched back then anyway.
Even in a knockoff remake called Kazam. Shazam doesn't exist, but Kazam still does. No one can figure it out. Ed McMahon never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse and gave people giant checks.
Now, that one's strange. I'm not from the US, obviously, but even that one was strange to me when I looked into it. That one was strange to me. I'm a mum, people like that.
There's even footage of Johnny Carson talking about Ed doing this, but...
I haven't really spoke, sorry, I should rephrase. I haven't really spoke to my mum about Mandela effect in a big way or anything. But I'm saying, what I meant is my mum would remember things like that more than me. Like the Ed McMahon in the Publisher Clearinghouse, whatever you call it.
It officially never happened, and he never worked there. I can't figure that out either.
That's
I remember
mental.
my entire childhood seeing that guy holding up checks in commercials all the time between my cartoons. C-3PO now has a silver leg in the Star Wars movie.
This is definitely big for me. I mean, it's so evident that is a chrome, silvery looking leg. And it's nothing to do with the sand, making it look gold. Because look, there's sand there, and you can see that is a silver chrome leg. And to me, it never was. It's so out of place, this one now. It's so out of place. It's crazy to say. People who say it was always like that, come on. Have a word with yourself.
The weird part, my action figure when I was a kid didn't have that, and no one can remember this in the movie. But when you go back and check the old VHS tapes and laser discs, the silver leg is indeed there.
Yep.
These mysterious examples have led people to speculate that something really did happen in 2012, and we're living in a different timeline. Why the...
might have been when it all started coming to pass. But for Higgs boson, God particle, don't think that explains it. Well, I know it doesn't.
Universe would choose something...
This is a big one for everyone. Everyone. Anyone who says, no, Monopoly Man, never, ever, ever. even kids nowadays, I would say, like older kids, like say, I don't know, 12-year-old. I think even a 12-year-old would say, yeah, we had a monocle. They might not know what the name of the monocle is. They'll say maybe like half glasses or something, or one glass in his eye, something like that. But even nowadays, I'd say people would still say he has got a monocle. If anybody says, nah, he never had a monocle, I don't think they're being honest with themselves.
So close, but with these minor differences and details I can't answer. But instead of it being evidence the world ended and we're stuck in a time warp, perhaps it's evidence we were saved. And this was as close as we could get to the original timeline. One final theory on why we've been living in weirdness for the last 25 years, where everything seems to be staying the same, could be that technology is collapsing time. Now, follow me on this one.
No. You can't collapse a man-made concept. You can't. And you can't collapse what God has made. God has made us to be in this period, in this duration. You can't collapse that. God could. You can't. No.
The theory is that as technology develops, the speed of advancements also increases until eventually it advances at such an exponential rate that the speed becomes infinite, like an infinite loop. Now, Moore's law is one similar example because starting in the 60s, the number of components in integrated circuits were doubling every year. Moore predicted that if the pattern continued, the rate of growth of these semiconductors would become enormous, which it did as the semiconductor industry took this as a challenge. With artificial intelligence being created now and man really merging more and more.
AI, big thing. It's all over the place now. Look, we're talking about it a lot in lives, talking a lot about it in videos, in flat sides. Everybody's talking about it. It's all over the place. I mean, I'm using it for thumbnails. People are using it in ChatGPT. People are using it for debates now. You know, like King Nico did. Brilliant debate it was as well. But yeah, it's being used. But my impression of this is it's not made for a good purpose. It's I think it's it could be vessel of some sort for the demonic. And if people want to laugh at it, they can. But you know, that's my conviction on it.
More with machine, this exponential improvement rate of tech has already started. Maybe that's why everything seems the same. Everyone is becoming
Me. Oh, me too.
one.
Me too.
In The Matrix Reloaded, our hero Neo meets the highly specialized AI program that created the Matrix itself. This architect character keeps being sabotaged by Neo and the other characters who refuse his program.
Those that refuse the program, while a minority, if unchecked, would constitute an escalating probability of disaster.
The problem is, the Matrix is a completely fabricated artificial reality. Humans are permanently kept in the state the world was in the year 1999 with no major progression or change. The fewer people that oppose the program, the better the architect and the AI can control reality.
I mean,
those who break free.
Amazing film. I love it. I know it pretty much word for word. You know, I've watched them all. We did it on movie nights, all of them. But since this movie came out, and things like Darkseid, but mainly this one, that's when people have started to be talking about simulation theory. And especially when things like flat earth and that become big in social media, that hit even bigger then. Things like simulation theory was more spoken about. But yeah, since things like The Matrix and that came out, it was more openly spoken about and people started thinking, you know. But look, movie influences. There's truth in movies, but also movie influence is not good. We know that the devil is the father of lies, and he will put lies in there, and he's got to be a big part of Hollywood. Absolutely.
Of the Matrix with their freedom and creativity are what change things. Let's get creative, people.
Choice. The problem is choice.
The AI in the Matrix thinks
The problem is choice. See, no, we're given choice. We're given free will. We're given will to be able to choose. So it shouldn't be a problem. So that's a bad message, you know.
choice is a problem, whereas I feel like it's a blueprint for a solution. In the time
Yes.
since 1999, in
Well,
real
I'll agree with them there. I mean, yes, absolutely. God doesn't want this to be automatons, puppets. No.
life, we've
Even though a lot of us are, you know.
been stuck in the same kind of minimally changing culture, except for changes driven by technology. We interact less, socialize less, trends come and go much quicker, and time progression is harder to mark because there are fewer tangible things to mark that time with. Let me give you an example. I saw a comment on YouTube from someone who said they were able to mark the time in the 2000s by when they were married and when their children were born. And I agree, families are a huge marker of time progression, as are major events like weddings, births, deaths, and high school graduation.
The time progression. No, actually, like I say, a concept. Like things like that are great. I mean, it's a film, but it's still just a memory. Yes, you've got it in a physical memory as such. Physically, you could see it, but it's a memory. It's something that's already happened. I mean, you could say from the past, but that would imply time. You know, yes, it's from the past, but I'm trying not to imply time because it's a concept. You know, but it's a memory. What's already happened is a memory. What is to come is something to look forward to, or not. You know, I mean, obviously you should if you're with Christ. But we're always in the now. Like I said, I mean, I've said it all the time.
But whereas in the past, people were going out to participate in more weekly activities, physically doing more things, today there's even less movement and activity. Fewer people go to the mall and even to the grocery store. Teenage trips to the movies, mini golf, or loitering around happen less often than everyone interacting on the phone. Now, this is not criticism of our current reality. In fact, I think there may be some benefits to this limbo land, time warp, matrix reality we seem to be stuck in. We've got so much more of a
Limbo land, like purgatory. That's the thing, by the way, guys.
chance to make choices that change things. Some people think this is super depressing, that we're not creative anymore, we're relying on AI instead of originality, and things are increasingly gray. But it also seems like the past 2.5 decades have actually been like one larger time period the way one decade was in the past. And as more people become interested...
I mean, certainly as you get older, and your parents always say it, the time seems to get quicker. And it does. I'm saying time, it's a concept to say, but it did seem to. When I was a kid, a year seemed like a long time. Look, waiting till the next day was a long time. If you like, oh, can I get this, mom? Can I get this, dad? Oh, we'll go and get it tomorrow. That was a long time. The next day, you know, a year was like, oh, it was forever. And I remember periods from my life, and then there's so many different things I went through, and then I think back on it, and it all happened when I was 14 or something. All the things I thought about, and I think, wow, that was just in 1 year of my life, and that seemed like a long time. And now it's like 10 years has gone past like that, and there's a lot less events. And it's like, wow, it really does. You experience it going quicker. And I don't know if that's a spiritual thing or if that's just what happens with age progression.
in innovation again, things are going to change rapidly. The people breaking out of the matrix and seeing that there's something more to reality happens every day. Just check out the comments on my Dreams Are Real episode. It's going to blow your mind. Now, some people may argue that in the past, the decades weren't really that...
Dreams Are Real episode. I mean, they're not, obviously. But, well, they're real because you experience them, but what you're dreaming about, it's not actually happening as in real. But yeah, they're real because you're experiencing them, obviously. But the events didn't happen. You can dream about what has happened, yeah. But the dream that you're having at that point isn't happening. That's my point. You know, I'd be interested to look at. I might have to have a look at that one.
distinct. I've heard that the 80s was just...
I've subbed to him now anyway. And like I say, I'll put his link in the description in case you want to sub to him, guys.
inspired by the 60s and the 90s.
I mean, it's a well put together video. A few things, obviously, I disagree with me. I don't know, but he stands on spirituality, Jesus, Father, flat earth. He's not obviously a flat earther. It's obviously heliocentric. But, he still puts together a good video, what I've seen. So, yeah, sub to him if you want, guys. I'll put the link in the description.
were just a redo of the 70s as our parents' styles came back around in their own kids' youth. But I think you really got to see the obvious differences in style here. I mean, I was there. No, the 80s was very unique, and the 90s was too.
Definitely. I'll completely agree with that. Music-wise, movie-wise, experience-wise, friends-wise, attitude-wise. You know, so many things were different. So many things are the same. But the feel of the times, like I keep saying, zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, different. And it was unique. That's what I think people get nostalgic. Same for our parents and stuff like that. For them, it was the 50s and stuff like that. For my dad, he was born 36, he's dead now. But for him, it was probably when he was 18 when he went into the army, so the 50s. Probably loved that. He loved Elvis and stuff like that. So 50s, 60s for them. My mum, 60s, 70s. Me, 80s, 90s. A bit of the 70s. I remember I was born 76. I remember the year 78 because I remember my brother being born. So I remember the 70s, but I remember the 80s more. I don't remember much of the 70s. I remember what I wore. I remember what the photograph says, but I was a small child. I remember them, but they're not vivid. Certain things are vivid, but not all my life, obviously. Anyway, let's carry on. About finished.
The 90s grunge look came from Seattle, and I have to say, part of the skateboarding culture. While the 70s style was a reaction to an anti-war movement, the
Yes.
60s hippie time period had color and go-go boots, sure.
Yes.
But that's totally different from the neon fluorescence and
Kind of like what I was trying to explain at the start. All the 60s was like different style of clothes from the 70s, you know, like more rebellious. And there were 70s, 60s, and 70s, even 50s. 50s was rebellious, 60s was rebellious, 70s rebellious, but all in different ways. The attitudes changed, kind of thing. The way they did it changed, but outcome still the same.
insanely big hair of my 80s childhood. You cannot say those were the same. But why are trains a little faster now, cars a little less varied, and planes haven't really improved at all in decades? And decades, while targeted ads on our phones are so good, they seem to be able to read our minds. Are we really stuck in a Matrix time warp? What are we going to do with this
Definitely not.
extra time? And what will the world look like in another 10 or 50 years? Leave me a comment with what you guys think, because I always love hearing it. And remember to like and subscribe to the Metaphysical channel so you don't miss out on any updates or content drops. If you want to support my work and get access...
There you go, yeah. There you go. There you go. Excellent. Excellent. So that was it, guys. That's it. I'll get this out as soon as I can. I'll get it. I dare say I'm not going to be able to do any editing to it because it's 52 minutes long. Yesterday's was 48 and I couldn't do that then. It wouldn't let me upload it. But we'll see. We'll see. At least I've got the intro and outro in it this time. But oh good, I'll get it downloaded and uploaded to YouTube and get it out as a premiere. So I hope you guys enjoy. But yeah, subscribe to the guy if you want, guys. Metaphysical, again, link in the description. Seems like a decent channel to me. Big enough channel. Well put together video, that's for sure. But yeah, he's definitely right. And when it came to like different, and a few things he was right on. Obviously, there's stuff I didn't agree with. But like I say, with the zeitgeist of the times, with the difference between 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, and then everything after 99 into 2000, the millennium was all bland to me. I agreed with them on that, absolutely. But what caused it? I mean, things like Higgs boson. Now, I'm not going to say yes to that, obviously. From where I come from, you know, I'm a truther, so we know things like that are science fiction. Anyway, guys, excellent. I'll get this out. I'll get this out ASAP. Bless yous, and I hope you enjoy. And I will see you on the stream at 2 p.m. GMT. If you see this before the stream. Bless, guys. See you in a little bit. Here the sunset's free. It's free indeed. Ta-da.